Hi, and welcome to Behind the Bell ATL with the Salvation Army of Metro Atlanta. I'm your host, Keely McGill. The goal of this podcast is to provide listeners with a glimpse of what the Salvation Army does. Many people tell us that they know we provide support to those in the community who need it, but they don't know exactly what we do. We hope to change that through our conversations with Army staff, clients, and community partners. Thanks for joining us. Hi everyone, welcome back to Behind the Bell ATL. Today I have Danielle with me. How are you?
Hi. Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, Keely. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here. I think I know you pretty well because you got hired right after me.
Yes.
So we were new kids together, which was super fun.
Mm-hmm.
But your job has impressed me from day one. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do here at the Salvation Army?
Sure, certainly. So my job here has been to connect individuals, organizations, groups to volunteer opportunities here at the Salvation Army. And with that, it's also a lot of outreach. So I'm outreaching to a lot of organizations, getting them involved with volunteer with the Salvation Army as well.
Which is very important because I think almost every single one of our podcasts we've talked about, volunteers and how important they are from start to finish. A lot of the work we do relies on how many volunteers we have, coming. Can you talk a little bit about the different types of volunteering we have offered that you get to work with?
Sure. So, it is a lot. So many different opportunities. It's so funny. Just the other day, I was at an event with at one of the gardens that we have. And one of the young ladies that was volunteering with us, she said, what else does the Salvation Army do besides provide clothes?
Wow.
And so, I had to go in and just break everything down and everything that we do. Volunteers touch from meal prep. We're meeting individuals that help prepare meals, all the way to organizing just the different cores. They need people to come in and help organize the pantries, organize rooms. There's camps, after school programs, so many different things. And during the holidays, that's when we really, get into gear. We have the Canathon, Angel Tree.
So much. Well,
There's a lot.
A large portion of our events in the fall, bell ringing especially, is very much catered on how many volunteers we have who are willing to go out there and be bell ringers. Can you talk about that process?
Yes, absolutely. This year was my first year going through that. It's a lot. Just organizing that. It's a major feat because there's so many different locations and time slots and just trying to get people involved and make sure shifts are covered. It's a lot. But we look to a lot of organizations to come in as groups and ring the bell at these different locations, and even some of our schools, students, families. We have a lot of families that have made it a family tradition to come out and ring the bells, and they're excited. They've been doing it for years. And this year, I made it my goal to try to put it out there a little bit more to get more groups involved, some of the schools involved. We did have more schools that get involved, like Georgia Tech, like the swim team came out and rang bells this year. And this year, I'm planning ahead of time this year instead of kind of waiting towards the end, but looking to get more of the schools and the college students and some of the younger generations out there ringing the bells and listen to their Christmas music and just show them how fun and engaging it can be.
I think we start from day one. Everybody thinks Salvation Army bell ringing, but I love hearing that it's a tradition for some families. Just like bell ringing for us is a tradition, and definitely reaching that younger generation for college students, I think is a great way and a great way for them to get volunteer hours, because I know a lot of schools require it too. But talking about volunteering, why is it so important that we push bell ringing in the fall and the winter for our volunteers?
Yeah, so bell ringing is one of our biggest fundraisers. If we don't have the bell ringers out there, we aren't raising money. So, we really need people out there. I know sometimes the weather can be a deterrent, but, if you're just out there a couple of hours, warm, bundled up, have some hot cocoa, we really look and, we need our volunteers to help ring those bells. It's so very important that we do that because it is, like I said, it's our biggest fundraiser of the year.
So how many volunteers do we normally have,
Mhm.
on a like yearly basis that come out and help support?
Gosh. This year, I think alone we had, was it, I don't know the number right off the top of my head. I forgot
You're
it, but
fine.
yes, I forgot it, but it is, in the thousands. In our database system, we have well over 30,000 volunteers. Um, I don't think I've touched all of them just yet. But my goal this year is to make sure I connect with every single one via email, or this newsletter, make sure everyone is getting the information and having the opportunity to know that what we're doing and given the opportunity to come back and volunteer.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
we talked a little bit about like bell ringing being an opportunity for volunteers. But there's not an age limit on volunteers, right? Like so anybody who is really interested can come out, right?
Absolutely. Well, if you're under the age of 18, we do ask that you do have a parent with you. Of course, we do have our waivers that you have to sign, but um, there's certain opportunities that we do have for families to come out and volunteer, especially at our Red Shield services. I always want to call it shelter, but it
Me
is
too.
services. But on the weekends, we have opportunities for families to come in and read books with the youth, do arts and craft projects. So, there's opportunities for individuals of all ages to volunteer. Um, in our garden this weekend, we had someone who was 76.
Wow.
Yes, volunteering in the garden. It was just so good. She was so excited just to be out there. And, there she is with all the college students. And, she just felt right at home. And she was in there with the shovel, getting right at it with them. So,
That is so
yeah,
fun.
there's opportunity for everyone, all ages. And we welcome everyone to come.
Talking about like different ages and different groups, you've had a
Mhm.
couple of organizations, volunteers, like corporations have
Mhm.
volunteered to do different things. Can you talk a
Absolutely.
little bit about that too?
Yes, yes, yes. We have lots, lots of corporations come in and volunteer. Gosh, when I first started, one of the biggest organizations that I kept hearing about was Cox Communications, and how they come out for Angel Tree, and they come out in droves, and this year it was no different. We were excited to have them, but we have gosh, from small organizations, small businesses, all the way up to the Fortune 500s come out and support the efforts that we have. And it's funny that sometimes I can just send an email and ask, like, okay, hey, we need this number of people. We have this coming up. They say, hey, send me a link. I'll share it with my people. I'll share it with my people and see if we can get some people signed up. And 9 times out of 10,
They come
they
through.
come through. Yes.
So they do like bigger things like Angel Tree and bell
Mhm.
ringing, but don't they do some like smaller opportunities as well?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So um, we've had organizations like Home Depot come in and they've built garden beds, at the shelter. Um, I also have given
You're fine.
I've also had organizations, ask if they could bring their talents. So, we have financial organizations that's come in and offered financial literacy classes. We have PNC come in and they're going to be doing a mobile banking. So you have the opportunity to not cash checks, but open a bank account. And sorry, I'm messing up now.
You're fine. It's okay.
Yes, so just organizations, they have the opportunity to just do anything, small, large. Think of some other things.
You're fine. It's okay.
As far as like smaller opportunities, we've had organizations go in and paint, paint at Marietta Core, um, even on down to at the Red Shield services in the basement. They've needed help with organization in the basement. We've had small groups of 5 to 10 go in and organize from some of the bigger organizations. The Fortune 500 companies have come in and, they take on the large and the small task.
It's good to hear that, we try to cater, some of their skills, like hearing that we're doing a financial literacy, like if it's a financial company or a
Mm-hmm.
bank company, it makes sense that they
Mm-hmm.
should bring their skills in, and giving them that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about some of the other different, outside of the traditional volunteer, experiences that we have available for people to take part in?
Sure, absolutely. It's funny that you asked that. I just got an email today from an organization that I've been working with since last year. They are an engineering firm, and they're not even based out of Georgia. They're based out of DC.
Wow.
Yes, they have a small team here, but they offer summer camps to youth. I don't know the age groups just yet, but we actually have a meeting coming up. But they want to come in and do STEM projects over the summer with our youth.
That'd be so great.
Yes, yes, yes. So, I mean, because they're engineers, they know how to teach.
Yeah.
And they can teach it to our youth.
Or just getting a kid excited about science.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've had women in construction. They've come and they did a book reading and talked to the kids at the Red Shield Services about construction and, showing the power of women in being construction. You don't have to be a male to be in construction. Right. Women power. But gosh, you name it. If you think of any organization that has a specialty, we've pretty much had some type of touch with them. I'm looking for other organizations to come in, maybe like some of the schools, SCAD, to come in and teach art. So that's one of my next obstacles.
Not obstacles, goals.
Goals, absolutely.
Not obstacles, goals.
I like that, goals. You're right. Goals is to get our art schools in and come in and maybe teach art, because the kids are so into art and
media.
Yes, yes, 100%. Gaming. Gaming is big.
Yeah, but it's good to know, like, someone who's listening right now, they could be like, oh, I work, as a teacher, but maybe teaching might not necessarily directly correlate with volunteering, or maybe you're an accountant, might not directly correlate, but just because it doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity for you.
Absolutely. Even on down to, if an accountant thinks that they don't have a volunteer spot, they're absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
They could come and teach someone how to balance, their checking account, or what to look for, or on down to resume review. You may have a skill of reviewing a resume.
Or they might just want to come and help serve in the shelter.
Absolutely.
It doesn't necessarily have to correlate to your job, but if you're willing to share,
absolutely,
great. But even if you're willing to just share your time.
Sharing the time is of utmost important. Absolutely. Yes, we definitely value any time that anyone has to give. It doesn't matter if you're an attorney.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity for you. You may like gardening on the weekends. We could absolutely use your help.
Yeah.
So,
you're talking about gardening a lot, which is fun because we've heard a bunch about it already on the podcast. But what's interesting to hear is that it's spring right now, obviously, and there's still plenty of volunteer opportunities outside of our traditional holiday push for volunteers, because we push for bell ringing and can-a-thon and everything like that. But there's still opportunities basically all year round, right?
Absolutely. All year round. Yes. Coming up here in the immediate future, we're still, I know we talk a lot about gardening, but it's that time of season. Season
spring,
right now.
Things are growing. Yes.
Yeah, so we're really gearing up and turning over dirt, and we're planting in the next 2 weeks.
So you were mentioning earlier that we have a database of 30,000 volunteers, but are you still seeing a need for more volunteers in our community?
Believe it or not, yes. We are, especially during the holiday seasons, from bell ringing. For some reason, I know the reason. From what I've been told, during COVID, the number of people that come out and volunteer to ring the bells just tremendously declined. And since then, it's remained, pretty steady at that low mark. And, this year was no different. It was a struggle to get volunteers to come out, bell ring. I thought maybe, putting a little hype around it might make it different. But no, the numbers were still pretty low. So we definitely need more people to come out, individuals, groups to come out and just ring those bells. You could bring, family, friends, just make it your own, make it fun. We need people to come out for 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever time you can give, and just, ring the bells around the city. I am going to be putting that out this summer, actually. This past year, I did go a little bit later into the fall before I started putting it out. I thought it'd be good. I thought I'd get more excitement around it. But this year I plan to be a little bit more proactive and start offering those bell ringing opportunities during the summertime, and just promoting it a little bit more than I did last year. But I'm hoping to get at least twice as many volunteers this year that I did last year. So the need is definitely there.
And we have like people who make like a whole thing out of it. Like they make a day and make it fun. So like it's not just you by yourself. Like you can bring friends, like you can bring your whole family and volunteer for a huge block of time.
Yes, and tag team. Your family could take the day or the weekend, and say, hey, mom, dad, you're going to take first shift.
Yeah.
Brother, sister, you'll take second shift, and just divide it up and make it a family day, It can become a holiday tradition.
I was about to say, it's a tradition. Yes. I think if I don't go through a store and hear it, like I'm like, something's missing, especially around Christmas time. Like it's just part of tradition,
Yes.
Be a part of like volunteering and creating that tradition, for other generations. And you're doing something good.
Doing something great. Yes, I've heard volunteers that have bell ring, excuse me, say that they've had people come up to them and donate and say, the Salvation Army has helped them and their family, growing up. They helped mom, dad. They've helped me, so just hearing those stories and, seeing the impact that you're making, just standing outside, you may think you're just standing outside ringing a bell. You're not, you're making a difference in someone's life, honestly.
Yeah. Speaking of stories, can you tell me any stories of like from a special volunteer who is like, done something or just remembered that like has a great testimony about volunteering with the Salvation Army?
Let's see. Let me think. Gosh. Well, for most of the volunteers that share a story with me have been individuals that have been impacted by the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
They talk about growing up and how mom, dad didn't have, but they remember that seeing Salvation Army somewhere around pulling them through. So just, and they always come back and they're like, I just have to say thank you.
So we've talked a lot about bell ringing and how, getting volunteers for bell ringing is so important. But another big event during our holiday season is Canathon, right?
Absolutely.
And I know that takes a bunch of coordination on your part because we use a lot of volunteers. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So Canathon, was my first year's Canathon. Just hearing about it from different people around the Corps, I had no idea how big it was going to be until I actually experienced it myself. Being there, being present, spending the day and seeing the volunteers out there and just excitement around it. We have, this past year we had 5 different locations where we collected food from starting at 7 o'clock a.m. all the way to 3 o'clock p.m. And during that time, we need volunteers. We have staff that's there too, but it's, we just don't have enough. So our volunteers truly are what keeps Canathon going. We have volunteers that come out and help to collect the food, sort, pack, cheer, sing songs. It's amazing the impact that the volunteers have on Canathon. We think this past year we had organizations that's done this for years. When I was there for the first time, there was an organization there that pretty much told me what to do. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is how you do it? They're like, yeah, this is how, this is going to go. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you all for showing me. But, we still need more volunteers to come out across the Metro Atlanta and help us keep this going, keep this tradition going of bringing in, that's our largest food drive. So we still need volunteers.
Just to keep that tradition going, right?
Absolutely.
So speaking of, volunteering, and we've talked a little bit about the different events and the different like volunteer options we have. I know we have a special group called Echelon. Can you tell me a little bit about what Echelon does?
Yes. So Echelon, yes. So if our volunteers with Echelon, they are individuals that's looking to just take it a little step further. With Echelon, it's more of a dedicated opportunity to volunteer. Being a part of Echelon, you are as part of a membership group. So it is our young adults. I always want to say youth adults, but our young adults, ages 20 to 39. They go out, volunteer in different corps around the metro Atlanta, fundraise. When I speak of the garden, Echelon is actually taking over the garden at our Peach Crest location. So they're going to actually be manning the garden this year. I'm hoping that they take it on as like a lifelong project and, just keep the tradition going. But so far they've dedicated this year, but we're in talks of
becoming a more permanent thing.
Absolutely. But with Echelon, you have the opportunity to get a deeper look at what the Salvation Army does and touch the different corps around Metro Atlanta a little bit more deeply. And you're doing this with individuals, within that same age group from, like I said, 20 to 39. You just have the opportunity to really get out and volunteer in a more permanent way, I should say.
Yeah.
They have opportunities to volunteer, once to twice a month, and just
it's like a community within the volunteer opportunities.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's just opportunities to really I always say get your hands dirty, in the volunteer
especially
world.
In the garden.
Yeah, in the garden and in the volunteer world, the opportunities are plentiful. They are within the Salvation Army as well, but with Echelon, it's a little bit more meaningful for that age group because they are doing it together with individuals their own age,
the networking, the funness about it.
Yes, and then they go out and do fun activities together as well outside of volunteering, just to kind of get to know each other a little better and bridge a community that way.
That's great for a young adult new to the area,
Absolutely.
Trying to get involved.
Yes. One of our board members, she's newer to the area, and she's been able to make lots of new friends, and she's getting more and more involved with the Salvation Army, and just her impact has grown tremendously from Echelon and
and she's making a difference, which
absolutely
matters so much to our community.
Absolutely.
So we're coming to the end. So I was going to give you an opportunity. Is there anything else you really want to say to our listeners who are listening?
So first, anyone who's listening that has volunteered or tried to volunteer, we appreciate it so much. We thank you so much for serving with us. Whether it was for an hour, 10 hours, it doesn't matter. You've made an impact. And for those looking to volunteer, please
reach out. We'll have
yes.
the link in the description. So.
Yes, please reach out. We have tons of volunteer opportunities. Right now, one of our biggest needs is for meal prep at Red Shield Services. The opportunity is twice a day, 7 days a week, so we are consistently needing volunteers there. But yeah, I really need you.
Perfect. Well, thanks you guys for listening. And if you're interested in volunteering, like I said, the link will be in the description, and there's an opportunity for you at the Salvation Army. So check it out. Bye, guys.